the teaching learning session of sociology. In our last lecture, we discussed about the biographical sketch of Max Weber and we discussed about some central ideas of his work. Today, we'll discuss about social action and ideal types of Max Weber. What is social action? Social action Social action. What is social action? According to Michel, social action denotes social behavior. As we discussed yesterday, for Max, individual is a unit of analysis. According to Max, individual is important. If you want to study about society, it's important to study the individual. So, social action denotes the social behavior. This concept is used by social psychologists and sociologists. Many social scientists regarded social action as a proper unit of observation of social sciences. If you really want to study, if you really want to know about any society, you should know about the social action. You should be able to interpret their meaning. Then only you can interpret the society. Then only you can understand the society. Action is social. When we can say that action is social? Action is social when actor behaves in such a way that his action is intended to influence the action of more than one person. When your action is intended to influence the action of others, then that action is known as social action. If your action is not intended to influence the other, this is not a social action. When you are saying something, right, if you are motivating others and accordingly others are taking action, then your action is social actions. Or because of social actions, if someone is creating risk for the problem, then your action is social action. Right? Suppose if a fight breaks out between the two groups and one group started using started beating another group, people of another group, but another group doesn't reciprocate, then that is not a social action, because the action of first group is not intended, is not influencing the action of another group. So it is important that your action should influence the other section, then that is a social action. In sociology, it was Max Weber who first explicitly used and emphasized social action as basis of sociological theory. It was the Max who said that social action is very important, and he emphasized on the social action as the basis of sociological theory. Roles of values and beliefs. According to Max, roles and beliefs plays an important role in social action and in study of society. As per Max Weber, sociology is science which attempts the interpretative understanding of social action in order thereby to arrive at a causal explanation as it causes and effects. As per Weber, it is very important that you should be able to interpret the social action. Social actions are subjective in nature. Researcher has to interpret those actions as per the historical background or as per the present situation. So it is important to interpret the action And interpretative understanding of social action is very important, and after interpreting the social action, you can arrive at causal relationship of its causes and effects, why someone is acting in a particular way. Then you can establish a causal relationship of the action. There are some important elements of social action, and these elements are: social action includes all human behavior. All human behavior is social action. Second is social action attaches a subjective meaning to it. It is not objective. You have to interpret the social action, so it is subjective in nature. The acting individual or individuals take into account the behavior of others, because social action is intended to influence the behavior of others. So, take into account the behavior of others. Social action is oriented in its course. What is the Weber's theory of social action? Weber has given a theory of social action. Weber wanted to develop a social theory in a way that try to examine social action from the point of view of social actor. Why someone is behaving in a particular way, what is the meaning of that particular social action. So he wanted to develop a theory which examine the social action from the point of view of social actor or the individual. So for Weber, individual is unit of study. As per Weber, social action also provided social actor with opportunity to live out their values and beliefs. One behaves according to the values and beliefs. So, social actor have the opportunity to live out with their values and beliefs. There is no question that social actors act in order to survive. As Marx told us, as per the Karl Marx, right? Uh, no, people behave or individual behaves in a particular way because of the survival, right? To fulfill their needs of survival. But Max, according to Max, that social actors act in order not they don't act in a way just only to survive, but for many other qualities of life also depends on the sum of the more secret and abstract aspect of human consciousness, qualities that are often expressed as values and beliefs. It is not because of only of this survival that actor behaves in a particular way. They behave in a particular way, or they act in a particular way because of the values, beliefs, and other qualities. Right? As per Marx, actors or the individual behaves in a particular way for the survival, but according to Metz, it is not only for the survival, but for other qualities too. A social theory that seeks to explain social action is, in that context, has to include some account of needs and desires which exist alongside the basic economic ones. Yes, basic economic ones are important, but it accounts the needs and desires too. They behave in a particular way to fulfill their needs, but along with that, there are certain other qualities like desires and needs are there, so they behave, so they take the actions and they behave in a particular way. Weber's theory of social action centers around the analysis of the rationality of otherwise of different types of action. Weber has defined various types of rationalities. We'll discuss about the rationalities in details later in this video, later in this lecture, right? Weber's theory of social action is centered around the analysis of rationality, right? Rationality of otherwise different types of action. People behave in a particular way because of the various types of rationalities. If the individual are in need, immersed in a rationalized and rationalizing social world, the presumably this has important impact on the way they act. The basic point of departure of the Weber's theory of social action is that action can be distinguished one from other depending on which kind of rationality actor is trying to express. The actions differs from each other because of the rationality. There are four types of rationalities, and which type of rationality that actor is trying to express. Accordingly, the action of the actors varies. Right now, types of social actions. There are four types of social actions. Right, these are classified according to the modes of orientation. Right, first is rational action in a relation to goal. Rational action in relation to goal, or Zweck rational. In German, it is known as Zweck rational, or rational action in relation to goal. What is Zweck rational? Then second type of social action is worth rational or rational action with the reference to value. Third is traditional action, and fourth is affective action. And according to these relational actions or rational actions, the acts of the actor varies. Right, and last point, what I told you, that according to the rational actions, the actions of the actor varies, and there are four types of rational actions. First is traditional action, affective action, worth rational, and Zwick rational. That is rational action in relation to goal. What is rational action in relation to goal, or Zwick rational? A rational action with reference to goal is classified in terms of conditions or means for the successful attainment of actors' own rationally closed ends, where I want to achieve my goals, and it is that type of action. Say, let's give let's say take an example of promotions. Right, my goal is to be at some specific position in my organization. This type of rational action is known as rational action in relation to goal, because I have a specified goal and I will work according to that. I try to fulfill all the criteria required to attain that position. Right, this type of rational action is known as Zwick rational or rational action in relation to goal. Right, to successful attainment of actors on rationally closed ends. Second type of rationality or social action is what rational or rational action with reference to value. A rational action with reference to value is classified in terms of rational orientation to an absolute value. That is, action which is directed to overriding ideals of duties, honor, or devotion to cause. Suppose a soldier lays off his life for for his country is a rational action with reference to value. Right, it is rational action with reference to value. My spiritual, if my goal is to attain some spiritual position, some spiritual thing, if I want to attain, then this type of rational action is rational action with reference to value. Right, third action is traditional action. Right, traditional action type is classified as one which is under the influence of long practices, customs, and habits. These are the actions which an actor takes because of the long practices, customs, cultures, and habits. This is an action which is guided by customs and long standing beliefs, which becomes second nature or habit. This type of action is known as traditional actions, which we do because of our custom, because of our practices, because of our values, because of our beliefs and culture. These type of actions are known as traditional actions. There is a caste system. Right, caste system in India is traditional action. Right, affective action. Affective action is classified in terms of affectual orientation, especially emotionally determined by the specific state of feeling of the actor. Affective action is classified in terms of affectual orientation, especially emotional, determined by specific state of feeling of actor, that is affective action, right? That is whenever mother do something for the family or for the children is a type of an affective action, that is because of the emotions. When you take actions because of the emotions is affective action. So action, so what Max said, there could be deviation in the action, social actions of the social actor, depends on the type of rationality. If it is affective action, they will behave in a different way. If it is a goal oriented action, then they will behave in a different way, right? Now, ideal types. What are ideal types? What is the meaning of ideal type and the characteristics and constructions of ideal type? We'll discuss this. Ideal type to Weber, ideal type is a mental construct. It is like a model for which scrutiny and systematic characterization of a concrete situation. If there is a concrete situation which I would like to study, right, then it is like a mental construct or a model. I make the model, I try to find out the various important factors which are responsible for that certain specific model, and I'll try to scrutinize and systematic characterization of concrete situation. I'll try to find out the special factors or those factors which impact that situation. That is the ideal type. Ideal type is nothing but a mental construct. It is like a model which you form because of your which one forms by abstracting or by taking out the factors, right? Weber used ideal type as a methodological tool to understand the analysis of social reality. Why this ideal type is required? Ideal type is, remember this thing, ideal type is nothing but it is a methodological tool. It is required to understand and analyze the society, right? How could you analyze the society? Max Weber said that we cannot apply the methods of natural sciences on social sciences. Then, how can we study the social sciences? How can we study the society? So, he developed a tool, a methodological tool, and he called this tool is an ideal type, right? Through this ideal type you can understand and analyze the social reality. How you understand and analyze the social reality? You form a model, right? You form a concrete model by abstracting the few factors which impacts that model, right? Max Weber was particularly concerned with the problem of objectivity in social sciences. So he used ideal type as a methodological tool that looks at reality objectively. It scrutinizes, classifies, systemizes, and defines social realities without subjective bias. Yesterday we discussed about the value oriented and value neutral, right? So this is that. It scrutinizes, this ideal type scrutinizes, it classifies, and it systemizes and defines social realities without subjective bias. The ideal type has nothing to do with values. Its function as a research tool is for classification and comparison. We can classify and compare the things using ideal type. The ideal type concept will develop our skills in imputation in research. It is not a description of reality, but it aims to give unambiguous means of expressions of such description. Ideal type is not a reality. It is not a description of reality. It is a methodological tool, but it gives us an ambiguous means of expressions of such description. Remember this thing. Ideal types are concepts formulated on the basis of facts collected carefully and analytical analytically for empirical research. Ideal types are the facts which the researcher collected, right? Ideal type is based on the facts which the researcher collected, and it is used for empirical studies. Empirical studies where we develop the causal relationship, right? First we try to find out the facts, right? And then on the basis of the facts we develop a concepts, and these concepts are known as ideal type. This is methodological tool, and these concepts are used for empirical research to find out the causal relationships. Clear? Constructions of ideal type. For construction of ideal types, the sociologist selects certain number of traits or attributes from the whole, which is otherwise confusing and obscure, to constitute an intangible entity. How we construct an ideal type? Ideal type, we construct an ideal type by selecting certain number of traits of a certain phenomenon, right? And then on the basis, because we have collected the facts, on the basis of those facts we develop a concept, and on the basis of that concept we construct an ideal type. We extract the traits and construct an ideal type. What are the characteristics of ideal type? Ideal types are not general or average type. They are formulated on the basis of certain typical traits which are essential to the construction of ideal type of concept. Right? When we form an ideal type, it is based on the certain specific trait or attributes, traits or attributes, which are essential to the construction of ideal type concept, because then only we can form the concepts, right? Suppose if I want to study about the job satisfaction level of the employee, then I have to create the ideal type of job satisfaction. Suppose I want to this, so how could I construct this ideal type? Then I need the various factors which are responsible for this job satisfaction, right? Then only I can construct an ideal type on the basis of these traits. So on the basis of these traits I can construct an ideal type. Ideal type are not presentation of total reality, and they do not explain everything. They exhibit practical conceptions of the so they exhibit partial conception of the whole. Ideal type doesn't mean that it is the total reality, but they explain the partial conception of the whole. Ideal types are neither a description of any definite concept or reality nor a hypothesis, but they can aid both the description and explanation. This is not a description, this is not a statement or hypothesis, right? But this ideal types helps in description and explanation. Why this is happening? What is the reason behind it? Right? The concept then becomes an ideal type, typical one, meaning that any descriptive concept can be transformed into ideal type through abstraction and recombination of certain elements when we wish to explain or analyze rather than describing a phenomenon. Ideal types are also related to the analytical conception of causality, though not in deterministic term. Why it is required? Because it is related to analytic conception of causality. It defines the relationships, right? They help in reaching to general proposition and in comparative analysis. Why do we need ideal type? So that we can compare the real and the ideal situation, right? And They help in reaching to a general proposition. What is the general proposition? Ideal type help us to reaching to a general proposition, and it helps us to comparing the analysis. Ideal type serves to guide empirical research and are used in the systemization of data on historical and social reality. Right? Ideal type is the first step for causal or empirical research. It is the first step for the empirical research or the causal relationship. It serves a guide to empirical research. Right? What is the purpose and use of ideal type? Why do we need the ideal type? Ideal type are constructed to facilitate the analysis of empirical questions. Right? If we want to find out the empirical answers of the empirical question, or if we want to find out the relationship, then this ideal types facilitate this. Okay. Ideal types are not found out of nexus of purely conceptual, though, but are created, modified, and sharpened through the empirical analysis of concrete problem. Right? We can create the ideal type, right, through empirical analysis. Right? It increases the precision of that analysis. Precision is very important in any research. Precision means how, whether you can generalize your research or not. Generalization of research means um, how confident you are about the result of your research. Say, if I say the precision of my research is 95%, it means I am 95% confident that my results, whatever my research says is correct. I can imply that result to 95% of the society. So it increases the precision of that analysis. It increases the level of confidence or the precision. Ideal types are a methodological device which not only helps us in analysis of empirical questions, but also avoiding obscurity and ambiguity in concepts used and in increasing the accuracy of analysis. It helps us in analyzing the empirical questions. If I want to know the relationship between the two, if I want to know the relationship between the two phenomenon, then this ideal type helps me to answer these questions. But along with this, it avoids obscurity and ambiguity in the concepts. Right? Because of historical explanation, there is ambiguity in many of the concepts. So this ideal type avoids that ambiguity, and it increases the accuracy of our result. That's what I said, the precision of our result, the confidence of our level of our result. Ideal type is a key term in Weber's methodological essays, has been used by him as a device in understanding of historical configuration or specific historical problems. So remember this ideal type, social action, a rationalization. These are the key terms of Max Weber's work. Ideal type is the key work. He constructed ideal type, that is to understand how events had actually taken place and to show that if some antecedent or other event had occurred or had occurred differently, the event we are trying to explain would have been different as well. Suppose something has happened, right? Now Max Weber constructed the ideal type to understand how event had actually taken place and to show what if some antecedent or event had occurred differently. In that situation, if that event had occurred differently, what would have been the results? Right? The event we are trying to explain would be different as well. Then our interpretation would be different. So he constructed the ideal type, right, to understand how events actually takes place, what is the relationship. Weber used ideal type in three distinctive ways. His three kinds of ideal types are distinguished by the three levels of abstractions. He distinguished the three types of ideal type on the basis of abstractions, levels of abstractions. The first kind of ideal type are rooted in historical, particularly namely Western city, the Protestant ethic, etc. In reality, this kind of ideal types refers to the phenomenon that appear only the specific historical periods and in particular cultural area. The first kind of ideal type are rooted in history, right? Like Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism and Protestant ethics. He wrote Protestant ethics and the spirit of capitalism. He created an ideal type. He tried to understand about the Protestant ethics, and according to him, it is because of the Protestant ethics. Capitalism exists, or this Protestant ethics has given rise to the is responsible for um, this capitalism, right? The second kind relates to the abstract elements of social reality. The first was of historical, it was related to history. The second ideal type is of social reality. For example, the concept of bureaucracy and feudalism. These elements of social reality are found in variety of historical and cultural context. He wrote extensively about bureaucracy. We'll discuss about his work on bureaucracy. The second type of ideal type is of social reality, and social reality is bureaucracy or the feudalism, right? Historical is Protestant ethics. Because of the Protestant ethics, capitalism is there, right? And second was social reality, and the third type of ideal type was it relates to the reconstructions of particular kind of behavior. He reconstructs the particular kind of behavior, right? The reconstructions of particular kind of behavior. Ideal type of historical particulars. The first type of ideal type which he explained, Weber construct an ideal type of capitalism by selecting the certain number of traits from historical whole to constitute the intangible entity. He constructed a capitalism, ideal type of capitalism, right? This was to show that there was a spiritual affinity between Calvinism and the economic ethics of modern capitalistic activity. As I told you, that according to Max Weber, it is the capitalism exists because of the Protestant ethics. As per the Protestant ethics, human being is a representative of a god, and god wants them to work hard and earn more, and rather than spending that money on their leisure, they should reinvest that money and earn profits. That is the reason these ethics, according to this Max Weber, these Protestant ethics are responsible for the arise of capitalism. Right. So this is the historical particulars. He find out that in Protestant ethics, in history, it is written that one should work hard. There is no place for laziness, and one should work hard and work. Legitimately and earn money rather than spending that money on the leisure. One should reinvest then money and earn more money and earn more profit. So this is the ideal type of historical particular. He identified those components of Calvinist doctrine which he considered as particular and significant importance in formation of capitalist spirit, what I explained to you. Next is abstract element of social reality. Second type of ideal type, social reality. Elements of social reality. Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy and the type of authority and the type of actions are important examples of these abstract elements. What is bureaucracy? Everyone might have heard this term bureaucracy. Weber pointed out that bureaucracy was the best administrative form for the rational or efficient pursuit of organizational goal. Right? Bureaucracy is an administrative position, right? If one wants to achieve an organizational goal, then bureaucracy is the best administrative form. The general meaning of the term bureaucracy is the rule by departmental or administrative official following inflexible procedure. They will just follow the procedure. Whatever written is the rule book, that administrative official will follow those rules, right? This this is known as bureaucracy. Max Weber emphasized the indispensability of bureaucracy for the rational attainment of goals of organization in industrial society, right? If society, if industry wants to grow, then they should follow the rules, written rules. So it is very important, if um, any organization in industrial society wants to be successful or wants to achieve their goal, then they emphasizes on the bureaucracy. Weber ideal types of bureaucracy comprised various elements like high degree of, according to Max Weber, what is required, that is in bureaucracy, a high degree of specialization and clearly defined division of labor and the work, and distributed as an official duties, that there is demarcation of the duties, what a clerk is supposed to do, what an executive's work, what is an officer's work, that is there is a degree of specialization and clear demarcation of duties. Hierarchical structure of authority with clear areas of commands and responsibilities. There is a hierarchy which who will report whom, and their areas of responsibilities clearly demarcated. Third point about bureaucracy is establishment of a formal body of rules to govern the operation of organization and administration based on the written documents. You administrate the work according to the written documents, inflexible rules, right? Impersonal relationship between the organizational members and the clients. There should be no personal relationship, no biasedness, no favoritism. It should be the impersonal relationships between the client and the organizational employees. A recruitment of a personnel based on the ability and their knowledge. Their ability and knowledge plays an important role in bureaucracy. Long term employment, promotion on the basis of seniority or merit, and fixed salary and separation of private and official income. These are the some points about the bureaucracy. Third is authority. Types of authority. What is authority? To understand the various aspects of authority, Max Weber constructed ideal types in terms of three types of authority. He defined in easier term, he defined three terms of authorities. That is the traditional authority, charismatic authority, and rational authority. Traditional authority is based on the beliefs in purity of old age customs and rules, right? Like in UK, queen is there. They pay respect to the queen, but actually it is the parliament who takes the decisions. So this is traditional authority. Caste system in India. It is a traditional authority types of a system. Rational authority is maintained by laws, regulations, and decree. That is the rational authority. Everyone has to follow the rule of the land. Then charismatic authority. It is characterized by exceptional virtue possessed by or attributed to the leader by those who follow the leader, have confidence in the leader and are devoted to the leader. That is charismatic authority. When we feel like that someone has different traits or attributes from the general public, then we consider them as a charismatic authority. Reconstructions of a particular, the third type of ideal type is reconstructions of a particular kind of behavior. This ideal type includes those elements that constitutes rationalizing reconstruction of particular kind of behavior. When we rationalize the reconstructions of a particular kind of behavior is the third type, right? So we discussed about ideal type and social actions. Now we'll discuss about the power and authority, two important concepts. Weber extensively wrote about the power and authority. What is power and what is authority? Power. The term power means more strength or capacity to control. Sociologists describe it as the ability of an individual or a group to fulfill its desire and implement its decisions and ideas. That is power. Ability of an individual to fulfill its desires or implements its decisions and ideas. It involves the ability to influence and or control the behavior of others even against their will. When we have a power, we can implement our decision even without the will of others. This is power. When you implement your decision on others with their will or without their will. For Max Weber, power is an aspect of social relationship. Power is a Power is present in social interaction and creates a situation of inequality. Right? Power creates a situation of inequality. If you will see around you, you can find a number of examples that power creates situations of inequalities. The impact of power varies from situation to situation. It depends on the capacity of powerful individual to exercise power. If you have power, then again it depends on you, that it depends on your capacity to exercise your power. It depends upon the extent to which it is opposed or resisted by the others. You can implement your decisions, but it again depends on the resistance from the others. If there is much resistance, then it would be difficult to implement your decisions. If there is less resistance, then you can implement your decision even without anyone's will. Weber discusses the two contrasting sources of power. First is power which is derived from the arrangement of interest that develop in formally free market, right? That develop because of the free market. Suppose I'm a distributor of something, and if I hold out something to increase the rate of that, then I have the power to hold that thing. I should have a power to hold that thing, and I can increase the rate of that particular commodity. That is power derived from arrangement of interest that develop in a formally free market. And second type is an established system of authority that allocates the right to command and duty to obey when it is legal. When a system gives you the authority to command and others have the duty to obey, right? That is power. Now, what is authority? Power and authority. Normally, we used these terms interchangeably. Power and authority. There is a slight difference between the power and authority. When power is legitimate, that is known as authority. Okay, the legitimate power is known as authority. The German word Herrschaft, used by the Weber, that has been variously translated. Some sociologists termed it as a authority, other as command, and some as dominations. We'll call this as authority. Herrschaft, authority. Power refers to the ability or capacity to control others with or without their will. That is ability. That is individual's ability to control others. While authority refers to the legitimized power. When you get legal power, that is known as authority. Right? Legal power is known as authority. And what is power? Ability or capacity to control other. Even if you don't have a legal power, you can control others, right? But when you have a legal power, then that is authority. Master has the right to command and can expect to be obeyed, right? That is authority. Suppose in an organization, senior has authority to give commands to the junior, and it is the duty of the junior to obey those commands. Senior has the authority because he has the legitimate power to control or to give commands to the junior, and it is the duty of the reportee or the junior to obey the orders given by the senior. This is authority of the senior. Elements of authority. There are various elements of authority. First is an individual ruler or master, or a group of a ruler or masters. What we need required for authority? Ruler or master. Second is individual or a group that is ruled, right? Third is the will of the ruler to influence the conduct of the rule, which may be expressed through commands. If I don't have a will to command, then there is no use of authority. The third important element of authority is the will to command or will to rule. Fourth is evidence of influence of the ruler in terms of compliance or obedience shown by the rule. Even though I have the authority, but fourth element is that junior or the ruled should be obedient. Fifth is direct or indirect evidences, which shows that the ruled have internalized and accepted the fact that the ruler's command must be obeyed. This is my duty to obey the command of the ruler or of my senior. This should be internalized by the ruled. This is the fifth one. Authority implies a reciprocal relationship between the rulers and the ruled. It is a reciprocal relationship. The ruler believes that they have a legitimate right to exercise their authority. Yes. On the other hand, the ruled accept its power and comply it, reinforcing its legitimacy. While the ruler knows that he has the authority, legal power to exercise, he has the authority, legitimate right to exercise his authority, and the ruled one knows that it is his duty to follow the commands given by the ruler. Max Weber describes the types of authorities. He described three types of authorities, and these are the traditional authorities, charismatic authorities, and rational legal authorities. What is traditional authority? Traditional authority is a system of legitimation flows from traditional action. Because it is our tradition, we are following that thing, right? That is traditional authority. It is based on the customary law and sacredness of the ancient tradition. It is based on the belief that a certain authority is to be respected because it has existed since time immemorial. As I have given you the example of the Brahmins or the caste system, traditional authority. Brahmins have the traditional authority. We respect them because of our values, because of our ancient traditions. And the Queen of UK, they are the traditional. She is the traditional authority, right? In traditional authority, rulers enjoy personal authority by virtue of their inherited status. They enjoy the authorities, that is the personal authorities. There are two types of authorities: professional authorities and personal authorities. They enjoy the personal authorities because they inherited that status. Their commands are in accordance with custom, and they also possess the right to extract compliance from the ruled. Often they abuse their power. Traditional authorities abuses their power. Traditional authority doesn't function through written or legitimate rules. There is no written rule that they should function like this. There is nothing written. Traditional authorities, for a traditional authority, there is nothing written for them. It is transmitted by inheritance down the generation. They behave as it has been transmitted to them from their previous generations, from their ancestors. Traditional authority is carried out with the help of relatives or some personal favorites, right? Second type of authority is charismatic authority. What is charismatic authority? Charisma means extraordinary qualities possessed by some individuals, which is different from others. This gives such people a unique power to capture the fancy and devotion of ordinary people. When someone has extraordinary qualities, then people gives them then the ordinary people gives them the authority, and the legitimacy of such authority rests upon the belief in supernatural or magical power of the person. Again, there is no written rules. It is not a legitimate authority, but again it depends on the belief belief in supernatural or magical power of the person. A charismatic leader proves his or her power through miracles, military or other victories, or dramatic prosperity of their disciple. As long as charismatic leaders continue to prove their powers in the eyes of their disciple, their authorities stay intact, right? As long as you can prove your power in your disciple, then the authorities stays intact. The day when you cannot prove yourself, your authority will be vanished. Charismatic authority is not dependent on customary belief or written rules. It is purely a result of special qualities of a leader who governs or rules in his personal capacity. Again, it is a personal authority. On personal qualities of an individual, the problem of succession arises. In charismatic authority, there is a problem of succession. Who after him? Who else? Who will take his or her place? This problem arises. The person who succeeds the leader may not have charismatic powers. It could be possible, right? In order to transmit the original message of the leader, some sort of organization develops. Then, to transmit the message given by that charismatic authority, organization develops, right? And the original charisma gets transformed either into traditional authority or rational legal authority. Weber calls this routinization of charisma. Routinization of charisma. What is routinization of charisma? The original charisma gets transformed either into traditional authority or rational legal authority. If charismatic figure is succeeded by son or daughter or some close relative, then that is traditional authority, right? Or if charismatic qualities are identified and written down, then it changes into rational legal authority. This is routinization, where anyone acquiring those qualities can become a leader. Clear? What is rational legal authority? The term refers to a system of authority which are both rational and legal. It is vested in a regular administrative staff who operates in accordance to the written rules and laws. That one has to behave or operate according to the written rules or laws. Those who exercises authority are appointed to do so on the basis of their achieved qualifications. No one can exercise those authorities. Only those who are appointed on that position because of their qualification, because of their other things, they can only exercise rational legal authority. Those authorities, it is profession and are paid salary, that is rational type. Why it is called rational system? Because they are being paid for their work, they have been paid the salaries. And legal, because it is in accordance with the law of the land, which people recognize and feel obliged to obey. That is why it is rational legal. Rational because for their work they are being paid, and legal because it is according to the rule of the land or the law of the land. Rational legal authority is typical feature of modern society. It is reflection of process of rationalization. That's what the rationalization. And the bureaucracy, what is bureaucracy? Bureaucracy is the machinery which implements rational legal authority. We implement rational legal authority with the help of bureaucracy. Max Weber studied bureaucracy in detail and constructed an ideal type which contained the most prominent characteristics of bureaucracy. Major features of bureaucracy is bureaucracy may function advocaately. It relies on the following rules and section. First is the activities which comprise bureaucracy are distributed among the officials in form of official duties. This is your official duty. You are supposed to perform your duties. There is a stable or regular system, right, by which officials are vested with the authorities. Officials have been given the authorities. So third is there is a strict and methodological procedure which ensures that officials perform their duties. That there is a procedure which everyone has to follow to perform their duties. These all three characteristics constitutes the bureaucratic authority, which is found to be developed in modern society. The second feature of bureaucracy is there is an hierarchy of officials in authority. Hierarchy, who is at the top, then the next, and then the next. The management of the bureaucratic office is carried out through written documents or the files, through rules. No one can do what one likes, but everyone has to follow the written rules. The work in the bureaucratic office is highly specialized and staff is trained accordingly. One gets the position according to the specialization, according to the qualification, and then they get the training accordingly. The fully developed bureaucratic office demands the full working capacity of the staff. You cannot avoid your work. Characteristics of officials in bureaucracy. Official work is a vocation for official. They are specially trained for their jobs. They are expected to do their work honestly. Bureaucracy official enjoys the high status in the society. They often Often their job carried transfer liabilities. This could create some problems in their professional and personal lives too. Official receives their salaries not according to their productivity but according to their position or their status. Official enjoys their good career prospects. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.